least relatively straight. All right. So today we're going to be talking about getting past your bottlenecks as an athlete. So I'm coming to you from the office in the gym today, so it looks a little bit different. If the audio is a little bit echoey, I apologize in advance. We're in the office at the gym, and it's a little bit of a different setup here. So I hope the audio works pretty well. Mel, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. So today we're going to be talking about getting past athlete bottlenecks. But before we get into that, I want to just remind you all that who I'm looking for on these live streams is anyone involved in the journey of becoming an athlete. So this can be athletes themselves. This can be parents, this can be coaches. This is anybody that's involved in helping athletes become better versions of themselves and ultimately lead to building their dream careers in sport. So as you tune in, drop me a win for the day. Drop me something that you're proud of that's going on today, something you're happy about. And in a minute here, we're going to get into the show. And yeah, so as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about athlete bottlenecks. And as a couple more people are tuning in, I'm going to briefly mention again, if the audio is a little bit echoey, I apologize for that. So drop me a win for the day, drop me something you're proud of, something you're happy about. And thank you guys who are tuning in already. I'm looking forward to getting into this one. We're talking about athlete bottlenecks, the struggles that athletes face while building their careers in sport, and then how to create a plan of action and how to execute and how to get past them. So let's get into the show here. We're going to get into it in 3, 2, 1. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the show aimed to help athletes gain an edge on their opponent and build their dream careers in sport. So today we're going to be talking about getting past your bottlenecks as an athlete. And I've been told that the audio sounds okay. So Mel, thank you for that. But before I get into it, I want to just warn anybody that is listening to this back on the podcast. If the audio is a little off, I apologize in advance. I'm actually at the gym today and in the office, so it's a little bit of a different setup, but I hope it still works well. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about getting past your bottlenecks. So first, what is a bottleneck? In a career as an athlete, we're going to face adversity, obviously, at different points in your career. And the way I look at bottlenecks is think about through your career when you hit that point where you feel like you're just doing everything you can and you're just not improving, or you feel like you hit a certain level and you just can't get past it. And, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you push at that level, you're just not getting past it. And when this happens, it's just about now being able to make a plan, being able to, figure out what exactly the problem is, what you're struggling with, why you can't get past it, and then figure out a way to actually move past that point and continue on in that career. However, what I see quite often is when an athlete, let's say, is working on developing a certain skill, they keep trying at that same skill. They keep working at that same thing. They keep failing at it, yet they keep just trying to repeat the same process. They keep just trying to do the same thing over and over again, which in turn doesn't actually help them advance, just helps them get more and more frustrated as they continue to fail repeatedly at the same thing. So as you listen to this, I want you to think right now in your athletic career, what is that bottleneck for you? What is that level you've gotten to that you just can't get past? What is that skill you're trying to learn that you just can't seem to figure out? What is that problem you're having that you've been having for a while that you just can't seem to improve on? We all have them. We all struggle with these things at different points in your career. And today we're going to talk about how you can start getting past that. So if you've hit that certain level that you just can't seem to get past, if you are working on that certain skill set that you just can't seem to nail down, what is it that is causing the problem? And then how do we get past it? So the first thing, when you've thought of it in your head, the first thing I want you to do is to isolate it. Don't just leave it at, I'm trying to master this one skill and I can't. Figure out what exactly within that skill is going wrong. And if you can figure out exactly what's going wrong, now you can figure out the plan. And also, I meant to say this before, but we can have this actually be outside of sport as well. So if you're struggling with something in your sport, look outside for that bottleneck, look outside for that issue. Common ones that I see for athletes, number one would be nutrition. They train really hard, but they can't seem to improve their conditioning. They can't seem to, get to that next level when it comes to their output in sport. And often it's because they're fueling themselves terribly. Another big one for athletes as well is time management. I know that as you guys get further and further in your careers, you've got a lot going on. You've got a lot on your plate. You're dealing with training, you're dealing with strength and conditioning work. As you get higher and higher, you're dealing with media, you're dealing with all these other things outside of just being able to compete in the sport, not to mention the pressures of the sport itself. So when you're looking for that bottleneck and you're trying to isolate that bottleneck that you're dealing with in your sport that's preventing you from leveling up, think about it outside of sport. Time management, honestly, I feel is the most common one. It's definitely been an issue for myself within my business. And so what I want you guys to do is think of exactly what it is you struggle with that is keeping you at the level you're at right now. Now, once you have that bottleneck thought of, once you've isolated what that issue is, now we can make a plan. So we're going to go off the example of time management because I think that's one that's going to speak to a lot of people. So once you've figured out that time management is your issue, you're struggling to fit in all your training, you're struggling to get the right meals in, you're struggling to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep at night, these things that you need. Once you figured out that that's the issue, we can create a plan. So to create that plan, let's say it's on time management, figure out the first thing that you need to fix. So right now, let's say the biggest issue for you is you're not getting your food in because you don't have your meals prepped because your time's not being managed well. The first thing I want you to do is figure out where in your schedule you can add in meal prepping. And so adding something simple like that into a schedule is going to allow you that simplicity of knowing on the same day, at the same time every week, I'm going to take care of this task, which is going to help me better manage my time, be able to get my nutrition in, and in turn, help me when I'm training. And so if you can figure out exactly what that first problem is, if you can figure out exactly what it is that time management is not allowing you to do, what it is that's actually falling off that you're struggling managing into your day, now you can create a plan of action and you can actually work on improving it. So when you have that bottleneck figured out and you have those issues figured out, what exactly is the problem? The problem is time management. What is time management causing a problem with? It's causing a problem with me getting my meals in during the day. Now you can create that plan within your week. Find that time that you can fit in a meal prep. Find that time that you can make sure you can do groceries every single week. Create that list in advance of what you need to do what you need to buy at the grocery store to make sure that you're not spending time aimlessly walking around the store trying to figure out what you want to eat that week. And just by having a system for all of these things, just by working on a system and making sure that every week this is planned out for you instead of randomly having to attack it when you feel like you have time during your week, you're saving yourself time. And in turn, that's more time you can now put towards training. That's more time you can now put towards focusing on your sport. And that's more time that you can now work on that next level, that next bottleneck, and that next thing that you're going to need to improve to be able to reach that next level in your sport. When you're building this plan, what I want you guys to keep in mind as well is that the plan has to be manageable. If you say, okay, time management is a struggle for me, so I'm going to schedule out every single minute of every single day to make sure that I always stick to it down to 15-minute increments. Pretty quickly, I'm pretty confident you're going to start falling behind. And if you start falling behind, you're going to start feeling bad about yourself. If you start feeling bad about yourself, then you're not going to want to stick to that plan. So when you're building these plans of action, when you're working past these bottlenecks, keep that in mind. Make sure that you're starting small and you're starting with something that you're actually going to be able to implement and you're actually going to be able to continually execute on. So as you've created this manageable plan, as you've created this plan that you're actually going to be able to stick to over time, there's one more extremely important step. And that step is execute. It sounds simple enough. Once you have the plan, put the plan into action. But what I really mean when I'm saying execute is continue to adapt this plan as you need. It's great to make a plan. It's great to work on that plan once or twice. But then if you do have a week where it doesn't work, you've got to remember you're not a perfect person, and that's okay. Figure out what went wrong, figure out what you need to change, and in turn, figure out how you can start that plan of action again, how you can adapt that plan of action when something in life inevitably comes up and throws you off. So, because the biggest thing, again, when you're planning anything is consistency. If you're not consistent with it, it's not going to see the result you want. If it doesn't see the result you want, you're going to feel like it's not working and the plan isn't helping you. But in truth, it's not the plan, it's you for not sticking to it. So to just circle back on a lot of that. So the first thing, if you're going to get past your bottlenecks in your career and you're going to reach the next level in sports successfully, the first thing you need to do is to isolate the issue. You need to figure out what it is that's causing the problem. You need to figure out exactly where that problem is being caused. Number two, you need to build a plan of action. Number two is figuring out what you can do to fix that issue, figuring out what it is you can do on a day-to-day basis to improve upon where the problem is right now. And then in turn, you're going to be able to see the results specific back to the sport. And then as those results start coming back to the sport, you break through, you reach that next level, and you continue to make progress. Now, as you create that plan, make sure you're keeping in mind, making it manageable so that you're not trying to add 15 things to your day at once. You're trying to add one thing and one thing consistently so that you can start improving. And then as you're able to stick to one area consistently, bring one up to two, two up to three, three up to four, and then continually add to it as you go. And the final thing you're going to do in order to build a plan of action that's going to help you break through these bottlenecks in your career is execute. It's all well and good to have a plan, but if you're not executing on that plan consistently, it's not going to get you anywhere. So when I say execute, obviously, like I mentioned already, I mean consistency. I mean continually trying to implement that to the best of your ability. But on top of that as well, I mean adapting the plan as you go. You are not a perfect person. These plans that you make to continually level up in your sport are going to fall off at times, or you're going to make them and then you're going to realize that they don't work as well as you hoped they would. And so when that happens, instead of getting down on yourself, instead of letting it fall off, letting yourself fall off track, reset, figure out a new plan, figure out the change you need to make to your current plan to make it work, and then get back to work. And being able to adapt this as you need, being able to continually focus on execution of the plan as you move along is going to continue to get you results. And as it gets you more and more results, you're going to find that you're feeling that back in your sport. And then as you start feeling those results back in your sport more and more, you're going to continue to see progress in your sport. You're going to break through these issues that you're having, and you're going to continue to level up like I know you want to. So thank you all for tuning into the show today. That is it. That is all. I hope you were able to take away some value. I hope the audio was working pretty well for you all, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again very soon.